Lines are on mute. We will be taking questions through the chat and answering them at the end of the session. So please utilize the chat feature throughout and we'll capture those at the end. Next slide, please. Our agenda today is to go over some introductions, a little bit about apps in Snowflake. We'll jump into the Data Skylight product, do a quick demo, and then go to next steps and Q&A. I'd like to introduce our speakers for the session today. We're joined by Jonathan Tao from Snowflake, Srinivas Pathareddy from Apps Associates, and Miles Gilson from Apps Associates. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Miles. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Carla. Good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. My name is Miles Gilson. I head up the data analytics practice here at Apps. You're with us today. Very excited about today's session. First, we'll do a quick overview of Apps Associates. We were founded in 2002. The founders came from Oracle Consulting Services. We are a global firm with offices and personnel in US, Europe, and India, recently recognized as an Oracle to Cloud leader. About 295 active clients, about 875 worldwide employees. We are kind of a full service consultancy across business applications, data and analytics, integration, cloud services. We also do managed services for application and infrastructure. You can see our partners there are very happy about our Snowflake partnership. We've got JT, Jonathan Tao with us today. You can go to the next slide, Srinivas. If you look at our data and analytics practice, of which Srinivas and I participate, we've got about 125 practitioners, and many of those have been with Apps Associates for 10 plus years. We do data and analytics across the full life cycle. That would include data strategy, modern data architecture, as well as the underlying technologies across ETL or ELT, databases, analytics. Our associates, we kind of pride ourselves on our associates being skilled across that full surface area, the full technology stack for analytics. We also have very, very deep business process skills. So we speak the language of the business as well as the language of IT. We do a lot of work in the area of data strategy, which is even more vital today as we look at addressing the full data platform and the full set of data requirements that companies need these days. And that you're going to hear from JT, but that's a really of Snowflake is being a comprehensive cloud-based data platform for all data needs. And we're real excited about that because we want to do everything we can to serve our customers across the full data spectrum. A bunch of certifications. I will mention that we've got 15 people that are fully certified as SnowPro colleagues. So you go to the next slide. So quickly, what do we do today? So first, we want to introduce you to the Snowflake Cloud Data Platform. I think you're going to really enjoy JT's presentation and probably learn a lot about what that platform can do. It's very exciting. We're also going to talk to you about our Data Skylight platform. So this is a pipeline that's going to connect Oracle Cloud ERP to Snowflake. Srinivas is going to take you through that. He's not just going to talk about it. He's going to give you a demo and show you just how easy it is and how much it enables our Oracle ERP, Oracle Cloud ERP customers to get up and running very, very quickly using Snowflake for self-service analytics. JT, I alluded to it a bit. JT's going to talk to you about how Snowflake can be used as a fully comprehensive cloud-based data platform. Some really exciting things, relatively new that JT is going to reveal. And then, we're gonna bring it all together and really show you how the combination of Data Skylight and Snowflake can really take the complexity out of analytics and reporting of Oracle Cloud ERP data. Hopefully that comes through very strongly because that's kind of one of our main messages. And then towards the end of it, we'll get into some actions that you can take after this webinar, concrete actions that you can take with us. Okay, thank you. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to JT.
Awesome. Thanks, Miles. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about Snowflake, introducing the Snowflake platform at a high level. Next slide, please. So the challenges that we see, at Snowflake, we see organizations have is the problem of data silos and how it prevents value realization. And data silos can be, sort of the classical definition of, data locked away in an on-prem system. But even as companies are making the migration to cloud and have, potentially, very what they might think mature sort of build outs and sort of cloud-based practices, they're still experiencing data silos within certain application frameworks or within certain business units. And when that happens, there's data duplication and there's difficulty to drive insights. Next slide, please. So Snowflake is the true data cloud, offering a solution to the data silo problem. And when we use the term data cloud, it's exactly how you would think of, say, Salesforce as the ERP cloud, Adobe as the marketing cloud, right? Snowflake is the platform that is tailor-made to solve all of your sort of needs around data. And we're going to accomplish that with three primary characteristics of this platform: access, governance, and action. Next slide, please. So the first one is access, right? It's important to, of course, be able to, within the Snowflake platform, gain control and understanding of any type of data. And the Snowflake platform does exactly that. You're allowed to load any format of data at near unlimited scale and share this data without copying or moving the data, right? So, this is obviously going to help you build a very data-rich environment within the platform. And obviously that is, a key sort of foundation to having a very powerful environment and experience. Next slide, please. So the data, once the data is here, right, it's important to also have very strong and confident governance on the data, right? Who has access to the data at what time, and what they can do with that data is always important to have a complete understanding of that. And by having one platform, a single platform solution like Snowflake, governance becomes that much easier. We employ the industry standard role-based access control methodology to essentially authorize users onto very specific data sets within the platform. And because we're able to solve for many workloads across the data stack, we're able to drive all of these processes through one system of governance. Next slide, please. Now, all this data in one place, isn't much use unless you can get insight and drive action from it. We solved that issue with Hadoop-based technologies, right? When we found that infrastructure started to become cheap, storage was cheap, but driving insights and running consumption against it was difficult. Snowflake, with its completely separate storage and compute, where they can scale independently, and on the compute side, have workload isolation, right? Maintain SLAs and spin up at any time compute needed for any type of workload, allows for essentially a limitless supply of resources to bring to bear and solve for any business problem and answer any question. And so we see how product teams, data science teams, business reporting teams, finance teams can all self-service and solve their data workloads on the same platform at any time without interference with each other. Next slide, please. So what does this data cloud that is powered by Snowflake look like today? What you're seeing here is essentially data sharing in action. And so data sharing is this ability of data sets to be securely shared between Snowflake accounts within our purview. And we see exactly how that's working, right? We have a data marketplace, right, where companies are able to share and potentially monetize, right, the data that they are able to curate and provide to other Snowflake customers. Last year, we have a partner called Star Schema that was able to synthesize and provide COVID-19 up-to-date data day by day available to any Snowflake customer and provide that data, live share it, and allow them to augment and enhance their own data environments with this data share. So each one of those points that you see on the graph essentially is an active data sharing edge, if you will, between Snowflake accounts. So you can see, and if you look at the right, we have examples from sort of a healthcare or life sciences use case, how more and more customers, as they become part of the Snowflake family, are seeing this value of data sharing in the data cloud sort of grow in front of their eyes. Next slide, please. So what do we typically see before Snowflake becomes involved at any organization? This is a traditional data architecture that is complex, costly, and constrained. Each column that you see on the slide here is essentially an area of data treatment, from data sources on the left all the way to the consumption or presentation layer on the right. And each one of those data treatment areas within a data stack can involve a numerous amount of technologies, each with their own system, governance, access layer, data duplication, and essentially this is what we notice at many customers before they come to Snowflake. Next slide, please. That's why the Snowflake platform in this data cloud architecture is very important, because it's able to solve for workloads outside of data warehousing, right? So we have identified specifically 6 key workloads that the Snowflake platform is able to solve for you. And then you can see how being able to solve for data engineering, data lake workloads, data science workloads is going to allow Snowflake to supplant and take over and solve for the problems across the data stack, simplifying the infrastructure involved, doing all this while providing the end user with a truly managed service experience deployed on the backs of the 3 major clouds that you see on the slides. Next slide, please. And peeling back one layer of the onion to understand how this all works, it's important to understand the 3-tier architecture of the Snowflake platform. It really all starts with that centralized storage. And essentially all this is object store of the cloud that Snowflake is deployed on. Nothing fancy here. We're just managing that for you and writing to it in a specific way. The second tier is, as you can see, completely separate from storage, as I've discussed, right? That is the compute layer, right? And this compute layer itself is also able to have workload isolation. As you can see, each little slice is completely separate from each other, meaning that any workload can run against that same copy of the data without interfering with any other workload that is concurrently going on the system. And then finally, we have the cloud services layer, what I like to call the brains of the Snowflake platform. It is going to allow Snowflake to behave a lot like a technology that you're very familiar with role-based access control, transactional consistency, asset compliance, compatibility with ANSI SQL, but also doing all this really nice metadata management that gives Snowflake this very unique experience. Next slide, please. And so really over the last, I believe, going on 8 years now, right, of Snowflake being GA, right, we've grown tremendously, went public a little over 6 months ago, last fall essentially, and have over 2,000 employees worldwide, pushing, I believe, 4,000 customers at this point, and growing the ecosystem, not only from the cloud sort of vendors side of things, but also through what we call ISV tech partners, technology partners from this likes of BI tools, data science tools, ETL tools, as well as great SI partners like apps that we have on the call today. So with that, I want to turn things over to Srinivas to talk more about Data Skylight.
Thank you, JD. So I'm going to talk about Data Skylight and what it is. Data Skylight is essentially a self-service gateway for users that are looking for information from ERP applications like Oracle ERP Suite, EBS, NetSuite, or Salesforce. Now, when we talk about data warehousing or building a data platform, it's normally associated with a massive undertaking, and it involves a lot of time and effort that is put into it. Now, and with Skylight, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reduce the burden on organizations that are trying to implement any sort of data platform for their purpose, right, for the use cases. Now, and ultimately to fulfill the essential goals of providing easy access to users, make sure that data is available in more of a self-service format. Now, when we talk about data platforms, right, we also have to keep in mind that we are talking about platforms that are scalable and flexible. And that's where Snowflake comes into the picture. We need to make sure that the use cases that we build for can scale for growth in terms of volume of data, and also additional data sources. And that's where we've partnered with Snowflake in order to build this solution, Data Skylight, and with the sole purpose being to get data from Oracle applications and Salesforce and make it easy and self-service oriented for customers. Now, when we talk about a solution like Data Skylight, obviously, we need to talk about the use cases that it's going to solve. Now, obviously, there are data. You extract data from different ERP applications. We know what data exists, the different transactions that are maintained, that are managed by these ERP applications, Oracle and Salesforce. So we are able to get the attributes and report on those. So there are multiple use cases that can be solved with a solution like this, and we just highlighted a few of those. But I just want to talk about a couple here that are relevant. And the first one is the bookings and revenue analysis and trends. And in a traditional environment, on-premise environment, where we have limitations with respect to scalability, with respect to storage and compute resources that are available. Now, on the cloud, we have we don't have those limitations, and we're able to take snapshots. We're able to perform trends easily, especially with the functionality of the zero copy clone functionality that's available within Snowflake. We're able to achieve this much faster, much easier, and make the process for the users much more seamless when dealing with any trends or copying any data. The other use case that I want to highlight is the Customer 360. Now, Customer 360, this is where you need information from a lot of different sources, starting from your bookings, revenue, invoicing, inventory, in some cases, manufacturing information as well, and service requests or incidents. And having all this information in a single data platform normally is takes a good amount of effort. But having this information in an environment like Snowflake enables you to build your use case around Customer 360 much more easier. It makes it much more easier in order to achieve that. Now, why did we talk about, why did we kind of get into this solution, or why we kind of focused on Data Skylight as a solution, and what is it trying to solve, right? Now, we started with understanding what is the problem statement that we have encountered for our customers. And it boils down to essentially two different areas. I mean, we have seen reporting from cloud applications, whether it is Oracle ERP, NetSuite, or Salesforce. I mean, these applications are very good with processing business transactions or business processes and capturing information, maintaining information. But when it comes to reporting, I think there are quite a few limitations, and they're primarily used for transactional reporting, and which is fairly useful. But beyond that, it becomes a challenge. It becomes a challenge because now, especially with Oracle Cloud ERP, you don't have access to the tables like you had with respect to Oracle E-Business Suite. What Oracle has provided is they have come up with something called PVOs, or public view objects. And now these PVOs are essentially objects that are available for users to extract massive amounts of data from cloud applications. and there are a number of these available. So it's kind of becomes challenging to identify what PVOs would be relevant for each module and what PVOs you need to extract in order to fulfill your reporting requirements. So that's a big challenge that customers have been encountering, especially when dealing with extraction information, when talking about extracting information from these cloud applications. Now, the amount of information that you can extract from this information is also limited. And we talked about the use cases where it becomes difficult to build metrics when you're dealing with multiple sources. It's difficult to change or build reporting for your use cases, which are very specific for your organizations. Now, when we talk about the other aspect of data warehouses, which have been on-premise for a long time, I mean, most customers that we have talked to have encountered very similar challenges with the limitations focused around lack of storage or not able to scale compute resources as their data need grows. They've always had to really identify what attributes they can get into the environment, manage the storage very effectively, so that they don't have to go through the upgrades or make changes to the environment on a regular basis. Building pipelines and maintaining pipelines has been another big challenge for most of these organizations. Customers have really kind of been hesitant when they talk about extracting information from applications in order to get into a data platform. And they understand the effort and the need in order to maintain these data pipelines, but they are hesitant in kind of moving forward with it. And on top of that, you also have to, once you have the data, you also want to make sure that data is transformed and it's modeled in a way that can enable it or make it easier for reporting. So these are some of the key challenges that we have seen for our customers. And that's what, and with Skylight, we want to kind of make it easier for customers in order to, when they're thinking about a data platform. Now, what are the benefits that that we want to provide to our customers, right? There are two areas of benefits that we're looking at. One is the technical benefits. And as I talked about earlier, the challenges that you had building your data pipelines. Now with Skylight, we have made it easier for you. We've built all the data pipelines for Oracle ERP applications and Salesforce. So you're not really worried, so you don't have to worry about, okay, the amount of effort and time that it's going to take to build your data pipelines. You don't have to worry about the PVOs that you need to identify and the attributes that you need to extract from the cloud applications, or you don't need to worry about the different connectors that are available and how do you kind of change your data pipelines accordingly. The other fact that is important that we want to provide with this solution is you want to also provide an opportunity for customers to schedule the jobs for both full load and incremental load as and when they require. So providing that functionality to monitor your jobs, schedule the jobs as and when you require it, and making sure that there's less dependence on like your support teams and making sure that you're able to get your data when you want it. So these are some of the key complexities that we want to kind of remove for the customer or make it easier for the customer when trying to deal with extraction and jobs scheduling and jobs monitoring. And when you talk about with respect to the business, from a business point of view, what end users really care for, they really care for data. They really care for, they want to make sure that data is available when they want it. And they want to not to deal with the hurdles that is involved in pulling this information. Now, and also they want information, both detailed information that is available in the transactional system, and they also want information which is summarized and transformed so that they can use it for reporting directly. So the need for both detail and summarized information is really useful in order to make sure that they're able to build the use cases and ultimately serve their end goal of making it self-service for their business users. So with this solution, we're trying to jumpstart this process of making sure that the connection to the Cloud ERP's application is provided and you're seamlessly able to pull in the information and then use it directly for reporting. Now with talking about the benefits, so let's talk about how we've built the Data Skylight. You see the traditional sources that we have on the left, and you also have the standard reporting tools on the right. You could be using Power BI, Tableau, or Oracle Analytics Cloud. And the way we have divided is the dark blue sections are what is provided by Skylight. And in the middle is what is achieved by using the data platform from Snowflake. Now, we have talked about data extraction using the data cloud connectors that are available. You have different cloud connectors that are available depending on the source system that you're trying to interact with. But in addition to the cloud connectors, the functionality that the application provides also includes ability to schedule your full loads or your incremental loads. Make sure that once you schedule it, you're able to monitor your jobs. And security, which is an important aspect. Users, you can set up your users so that there are only certain users that can schedule your jobs, certain users that can monitor your jobs. And all this metadata is captured within this application in a SaaS structure, in a SaaS architecture. And together with the data platform, Snowflake, we are able to achieve this. We are able to kind of get this information from the different ERP applications into Snowflake. Now, if you look at the data platform itself, right, we are getting this information as part of this application into a stage environment or a stage location. And we're using, in this case, using the internal stage within Snowflake. But then within Snowflake, you also have the option, we have two different options, right, of how you want to maintain your data lake. You could either complement your existing data lake that you have with Snowflake, or you can build your own data lake using Snowflake itself. And if you're complementing, if you go with the first scenario where you're complementing your existing data lake with Snowflake, you don't have to move your data. You can use external tables and query and write queries and get the information without really physically moving the data over. And then in order to improve your performance, you can create materialized views in order to make it faster. And all this you can kind of make sure that the governance and the security that is needed in order to govern this data is ensured and it's not compromised without really physically moving the data. And then the second part of it, which is if you go with building your environment, your data lake environment with Snowflake. So here what you're doing is you're kind of getting multiple data workloads all within the single environment, unifying your technologies within the Snowflake environment itself, right? And so you're providing access to information to your users and within the governance and security that Snowflake provides. And then once you have this information in the staging, we take the information into the raw layer or the raw schema within Snowflake. And using the streams and tasks, we've automated this process, the data transformation tasks, into the transformed schema so that you can get the transformed data with all the joins and everything that is needed so that you can make it easier for reporting and seamless for reporting as far as what users want to connect and report out of. So with this architecture, right, you can see we have leveraged all the close functionality or the important functionality within Snowflake, and we have built functions within Skylight to kind of leverage that functionality and ultimately provide a solution which is going to make it easier for customers to access information. Now we talked about architecture. Now how do we go about using it, right? I mean, we have been saying that the process to access information, the process to get this information has been easier. So essentially, it's 4 different steps that we're talking about, or 3 different steps. All you have to do is define your connections to your source and your target. So you provide your connections for your Oracle ERP applications or Salesforce, and provide your connection information to Snowflake. You choose your business subject area or the object that you want to extract information from, and then select your target, which is going to be Snowflake in this case, and then just click submit. And that's what we're going to see in this short demo that I'm going to show. I'm going to show how we can kind of just take these steps and show information that has been extracted and loaded into Snowflake. So what you're seeing here is a live application for the Data Skylight product. And within the Skylight product itself, we have it's configured into 4 different sections. At the top, you have connections. You have the ability to create connections or view update connections. You also have the next one is data replication. This is where you choose your subject areas and or objects in order to extract information from the Cloud ERP application. The next one is job schedules, where you want to create job schedules in order to identify what frequency you want to extract your information or view existing schedules. And the last is the job runs, so monitoring job runs, jobs that have been scheduled or jobs that have been in the process of completing. So we'll quickly go through the functionality that is provided within each of these tabs. So within connections, as I mentioned, you have the ability to create connections or view update connections. Create connections will take you to the screen where you can see there are different options of setting up your connections to the source and the target. And you have options to create, because there are different attributes that have to be collected in order to maintain that connectivity. So the different connection setups that have to be maintained for each source and the target. So we'll start with Oracle Cloud ERP, and within Cloud ERP, you can see that you have to provide a certain basic set of information, which is very standard: connection name and description, which is user defined, host name and username and password, which has been set up that you're using to log into your Cloud ERP application. And storage, which is UCM, it's going to be default, and it comes within Oracle Cloud ERP, and where the extraction information is going to be stored. I would just show you the existing updated connections that are available, so you can just have that you can see what information is captured and what you need to provide. So it's not a lot that you need to kind of set up here with respect to the source and the target. The next, we come to the data replication itself. So here, as we said, you're going to choose your source application, your target, and your subject areas that you want to select for extraction. So we'll go through two different examples, so two different use cases, one for Oracle Cloud ERP and the other for Salesforce. So within Cloud ERP, we'll select this, and you can see that you have the option to select either Cloud ERP or Salesforce or eBusiness Suite or NetSuite. The focus of this demo is going to be on Cloud ERP and Salesforce. And we'll click next once application is chosen. And within the application itself, you will have different modules that are available for data extraction. The modules that are available are supply chain management, procurement, human capital management, finance, and cross module, which is common modules or common objects across that are applicable for the different business areas. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to choose finance. And within finance, we have sub-modules for accounts receivables, accounts payable, and general ledger. And we will focus on payables as part of this demo. Now, for payables, what you can see is there are different PVOs that are available. And as I mentioned earlier, there are quite a number of PVOs that are available within the Cloud Connector. And it becomes difficult in order to identify which ones are necessary. So what we have done is we've identified the necessary PVOs that are needed in order to extract all the information from Oracle Payables. So these are all the different PVOs that are needed and that would provide all the information that a user normally would require for that module. Typically, we would select all the objects for that module, so that you're doing a full load of all the data of all the different attributes and the objects. But you also have the option to select individual objects, and this is provided more for edge cases or exceptions, so that you can load individual objects as needed. For the purpose of this demo, we will select the entire list of objects that are available for payables and select next. Next, the target data warehouse. In this case, it's going to be Snowflake. We select target warehouse. And then after that, you provide an extraction date. So the extraction date would be needed if you want to specify a date since when you want to extract your information from. So this would be, or if you don't want to provide a date and you want to extract everything from the application, you can just leave it blank and then click submit. So this is so now that you have selected the source, the business area, the subject areas, and the target, it gives you a summary of what your selections were, and you just confirm this and click submit. So at this point, the process is ready, and it starts the process of executing the scripts behind the scenes in order to move this data from the cloud application into Snowflake. We will look at another use case. In this case, Salesforce. As I mentioned, we also going to focus on Salesforce as part of this demo. And we look at, in a similar way, the concept is very similar. We will pick up the application as Salesforce. The subject area is also going to be Salesforce here. And the module will show you the different objects that are available within Salesforce. And you can see the list of objects that are available, all the list of objects that are available within Salesforce. So you have, similarly, you have the option to select all the objects, or you can pick a single object in order to extract this information. So we will select, so as I said, you can have pick all, or you can select individual objects. We'll go with an individual object, click next, select the destination as Snowflake, and click submit. So it's very similar to what we've done for Oracle Cloud ERP applications. We do the same thing for Salesforce, click submit, and we start the process of extracting information from Salesforce into Snowflake. So once you have selected the objects or the module or the subject areas that you want to extract, and you have submitted these extraction processes, it's time to look at the job runs. So we look at what jobs have been submitted. As you can see, the Salesforce job is already completed. And you can look at the different jobs that have been run. And then if you want to look at the objects that have, like what objects have been completed, you can look at the PVOs that have been run within the object, the number of rows that have been, whether it has been inserted or updated. You would see different metrics around the data extraction processes itself. Now, once you look at, so this screen essentially is going to help you with monitoring your jobs that you have just kicked off. Now, once you have submitted your full load, you can come to the job schedule screen where you can create your own schedules. And here, what we do is we go and we select a job that has been submitted for the full load, and provide a schedule name for this purpose. So I'll just call it a schedule demo. You can select your start date. So we'll select the start date as today, end date as tomorrow. And then you can choose a frequency of your choice. You have different options: hourly, daily, weekly, or one time. You can choose daily, and then you can choose a time that you want to run on that particular day. And you can say that you want to submit your incremental load for the full load that you just submitted. And then you can go and submit this job. So this is going to, based on the time and the frequency that you have selected, it is automatically going to run behind the scenes, and you would be able to monitor it using your job runs window. And you can view your existing schedules as part of this process also. So here you can see some of the existing schedules and some of the things and this is the one that we just kicked off now. And you can monitor you can kind of see if there are existing schedules that are available, or if there are new schedules that need to be created for your data extraction needs. Now, once this data has been, once you've kind of gone through this process of identifying your modules, your objects, and then you loaded your data, you're able to monitor your jobs. Now, next, we will go and take a look at how this information looks like in Snowflake itself. So within Snowflake, we have kind of identified different schemas of how we want to store this information. So we have created this raw schema. So this is the schema where all the information very similar to how it is provided in the PVO objects. This is going to come over as is into the raw schema itself. And the tables that we have created here are very similar to the PVO objects that are available. So that when you want to perform any data validation, you want to compare information whether the information in Snowflake matches with your source application or not, you'll be able to easily do that. So this information, these objects within the raw schema is primarily useful in order to make sure that your data validation or any issues that you encounter with the data is taken care of. And we have the same thing on the Salesforce side as well. So you have the objects within Salesforce that you can see what information was available in Salesforce and what records or how many records have been extracted into Snowflake. Now, once this information has been extracted into the raw schema, what we have done is we have transformed them, and we have into the transform schema. And here, this is where we have kind of joined those multiple tables that we have extracted in the raw schema. We've included transformation logic in order to make sure that the attributes that are available in the schema are easy enough for users to understand and report out of. Now, in most cases, you would have either super users or data analysts or data scientists that would come to Snowflake, and they would query. They would be more interested in understanding the data closer. They would be more interested in kind of combining data sets together for their own use cases, and they would come here and write their own queries and kind of pull information from the tables directly. But you would have a different set of users that may not be very close to writing queries or looking at information in more like in the form of tables or in the form of objects from Snowflake directly. And for those users, we talked about reporting tools, right? You can use a reporting tool of your choice. And in this case, what we have done is we have built a Tableau dashboard that uses these objects from the transform layer, and we have built a sample dashboard to show what is possible, right? So here users can kind of build their own reports, use it in a self-service mode to draw detailed information or build summarized metrics in order to show or in order to share with other users in their departments or within the organization. Now, you can use any tool of your choice in order to point to those objects, the transform schema within Snowflake, and build your metrics. So this way, you have the users have better options of easier. I mean, it makes it essentially easier for users to understand the attributes that are available, user-defined values that they can understand, and then summarize and provide report out of the database itself for their organization. Now, with this, we kind of wrap up the brief demo that we talked about, and I'll go back to the presentation for the next steps.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Srinivas and JT. That was great. I learned some new items there, so very, very excited about that. What we're going to show you now is going to be some actions that you can take if you, thank you, Srinivas. If you like what you saw, Apps Associates, we're offering a complimentary assessment and proof of concept to go ahead and connect up Data Skylight, let you take it for a test run, take your data from Cloud ERP or any of the supported data sources, could be Salesforce, could be EBS, pull it over into Snowflake, let you experience firsthand the flexibility, power, and agility of Snowflake. So if you're interested in that, you can either email Srinivas and I, or better, if you click on that, Srinivas, or you just click on that URL below, and we'll get this URL to you. We've got a page here where you can just give us some information, just your full name and title, and submit it, and we will get you set up right away. We'll go ahead, we'll do the assessment, learn a little bit about your environment, learn about what you're trying to achieve in the area of data and analytics, and then move right into a POC for Data Skylight along with Snowflake. And no burden on your part, shall we say. You don't need to sign up for anything or have a license. Well, obviously you have your data source license. I'm really talking about for Data Skylight or Snowflake. We use a test system. Okay, with that, I'd like to turn it over to Carla to go to Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miles. We did get a couple of questions during the demo, Srinivas, and the first question that came in was, how often can you run these extracts when you were pulling the extracts?
Yeah, as I showed in my in the jobs screen, you have the option to schedule it hourly, daily, weekly, or one time. And so at the moment, we have provided an option to schedule it. I think the lowest frequency would be hourly at this point. And you could schedule it, the highest or the widest range would be weekly, where you could schedule these jobs for.
Okay, great. And then another question that came in was, can I deploy Snowflake in my own VPC?
Yeah, so good question. And the answer is no. Snowflake is a true sort of SaaS experience managed service. So, we're simply coordinating, orchestrating the infrastructure of the 3 major clouds. And as an end user, as a customer, you would just simply choose a region and cloud that you would like Snowflake in, but it's delivered as a managed service.
Okay, great, thank you. And another question was, how am I billed for using Snowflake?
Yeah, so at a high level, it all boils down to credits, right? Credit consumption, there's a dollar amount per credit. There are usually around $4. We have different service levels, but that's kind of the benchmark. And then essentially you're going to be billed for storage, right? Storage, we're not making money on storage, so it's object store, but the cost of, say, terabytes per month of S3 usage, if you're on AWS, that's what we would pass on to you. And then consumption, right? So the amount of credits that you would be using to sort of run queries. So the virtual warehouses, we saw the compute layer, right? So we have this idea of virtual warehouses where for the fractional second of time that virtual warehouses are online, there is a direct correlation between credit consumption there and how long those are online. Of course, they can be spun off, turned off when you're not querying, thus saving you money and not incurring costs. So that's the quick answer.
Yeah, all right, thanks, JT. And then one more that came in is, would I be able to mash data from Oracle ERP Cloud, Finance, and Oracle EBS HCM to build one Tableau dashboard?
Yeah, as I showed, we have the option to extract information from Oracle E-Business Suite, NetSuite, Oracle ERP, and Salesforce. So in this case, yeah, you would be able to extract those information into the different, like say each source will fall into their own raw schema, and along with the transformed schema for that particular source. And then when you, as long as your dimensions are confirmed across the sources, you would be able to combine them and report it on Tableau.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was the last of the questions. So unless there's any others, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you to our speakers, JT, Srinivas, and Miles. We will be sending out the recording with the POC that you can register for. And should any questions come up, feel free to reach out to any one of us. With that, I'd like to conclude the webinar. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye now. Thank you.